What's up, everyone? It's Drew Elder, your host of the Matt Mindset. I'm here today to tell you to go to xmarshall.com, use code MattMindset, and get 15% off your order on rash guards, shorts, whatever else is on their website, full of MMA, jiu-jitsu stuff. xmarshall.com, use code MattMindset for 15% off. And also, if you're feeling a little worn down from other training sessions that you may have gone through recently or in the past or ever, go to Movement Chiropractic to get some work done on your back. That's mvmtchiro.com. Use code MattMindset. Again, and get 25% off your first visit. They offer a ton of industry-leading modalities to help you with any injuries that have occurred on or off the mat. So again, go to movementchiro.com, mvmtchiro.com. Use code MattMindset for 25% off of the Southwest location. Be sure to book with Dr. Teagle. He is a jiu-jitsu practitioner himself, so he knows the ins and outs of what it's like and what goes on and off the mats, and some injuries that you could sustain as well. So again, movementchiro.com. Use code MattMindset for 25% off your first visit. Thanks.
Hey, as we get back into society, let's remember, people will punch you in the fucking mouth.
Welcome back to the Matt Mindset. I'm here with UFC's esteemed coach and local Houston coach for decades now, Coach Bob Perez. Bob, how's it going?
Great, man. Thank you for having me. It's been a while.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know how busy you are. You guys got, we talked about off camera, 65 active fighters from MMA to boxing. It's been great.
65 on the MMA side, then about another 50 to 60 on the boxing side.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you are a very busy man.
Yes, sir. And I love doing this, and you're my boy. So
I appreciate it so much. Thank you. So how did you get started? I know you were, so it's so funny to me, you were a scientist before this. Mm-hmm. How did you go from being a scientist to an MMA coach?
Well, basically, man, I was doing both, and my wife was like, making really good money, in the science lab. But she could see that I was really overdoing it. I was probably, working 90 hours a week. And although I was happy, I was very tired. And she's like, well, you're having success as a part-time coach, just like take a leap of faith. And, it was her encouragement that had me do it. And I gave my 2 weeks the next day.
And you just hopped into coaching right after that?
Well, I had already been coaching.
Well, right.
Yeah.
But full-time?
I started coaching in 2005. My first corner was like in 2001, but like 2005 was when I really started coaching like a lot.
Yeah.
And this was 2016 that I quit my job.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I knew you back in like 2013. So you were still working.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
I thought you had fully transitioned.
No, I mean, it's been 8 years. September will be 8 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you've made, some massive growth in the last 8 years, from working at 4 ounce to having some guys on your roster now, the UFC guys like Derrick Lewis and Kevin Holland, people like that. And they're having great success. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be a lot of coaching questions here.
Sure,
I have several people who have asked me, you need to get him on and ask him blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Let's just say you have a person who trains, but they've never fought before. Mm-hmm. If they came to you and said, hey, I want to coach, but they have no previous experience, you boxed before, so you have.
I started MMA in the mid to late 90s, so I'd had a lot of experience.
Right. What would you recommend to someone who's never competed before if they said, I wanted to be a coach?
Man, that's kind of a double-edged sword because, some of the best coaches in the world in different disciplines have never, different sports, have never like been active players or at the highest level or whatever. I've been around world champions. I've taught seminars with world champions that can't teach, that can't relay information. So, man, I would like, they have to have some experience. They need to know what it's like to get punched in the face. And,
Yeah.
they need to know what fighters go through because you guys go through hell. So from a psychological standpoint, I think they truly need to understand the commitment and the suffering that fighters go through. That being said, some people just have an innate ability to relay information or to run a room or to be a leader. And so, it would be difficult. and not that the fighters wouldn't respect that individual, but I think it'd just be more difficult in them maybe not understanding what they're truly going through.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's tough doing all those things without having that credibility.
Mhm.
So, do you think if someone came in and said, "Hey, I've never fought before," whatever, that would hurt their credibility? But at the same time, what if they were doing the right things on the training floor? How do you think that would affect their?
Man, I think that's really the tell. You know, that's what's going to be the deciding factor. I mean, if they can run that room and they have everyone's attention and they give good instruction and they care, you know, it's things like time management. You know, like there's so many different things. But yeah, man, I mean, they can absolutely do it. You know, I mean, at least give it a shot, give it a try for sure.
Awesome. Having so many fighters on your roster, how do you go through? How do you prepare each person? How do you study for fights? Like, what do you guys watch film? What are you doing in their 6 to 8 week camp?
Well,
as a coach,
I watch fights on everybody from, you know, amateur all the way up to the world level, and I also have amazing coaches that I also, you know, hey, I want you to look and see what you see, because one, I want to develop them as a coach, and two, I'm very interested in their insight because it's usually very, very good. So I do study video a lot, and you know, generally a 6 to 8 week camp is going to consist of our day-to-day training. You know, you're going to still do all of the classes that we do, but then we start specializing certain things. Like, you know, if you're fighting, we have a group fighting and we're fighting a lot of wrestlers or a lot of southpaws. I will structure the class, the team MMA training, you know, to do things to help you. Certain concepts, philosophies, techniques, whatever. And then, you know, you start incorporating pads and specific things with the fighter preparing. I have, you know, Gabe is a great nutritionist, and
yeah.
you know, we rely on Gabriel a lot, man. He's a fighter. He's amazing. He knows what these men and women are going through. So I try to involve him in their camp. And you know, it's the weight management. It's, you know, a lot of them. We have strength conditioning at the gym, but some people just prefer their own, you know, strength conditioning coaches. So that's also a thing. I just make it clear that that's all supplemental to their actual, you know, training. The bulk of their cardio and so forth is going to come from the work that they're putting in. Yeah, exactly. But it's very beneficial if it's done, you know, properly. And then from there, man, we just, you know, make sure the weight's good and they show up and that they're in shape and they fight. I dislike losing, as we all do.
Yeah,
you know, and if we get beat, we get beat.
Yeah.
You know, and you just have to learn how to be a professional and accept that. The only times that I've ever gotten angry, and it's my fault, if I would have, you know, you say you're working too much or you can't make training and I still allow you to fight, man, that's on me. You know, because, you know, as a coach, I have to know when to pull the plug. And that's always hard to do. But yeah, man, it's pretty standard for everybody from, like I said, the amateur to the world level.
You have to know as a coach when your guys are being pushed too hard outside of the gym. Inside the gym, as hard as you want. But I think that's a factor that does set you apart, because I have seen coaches who are like, just get in the gym, just train, blah, 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 but they don't care about like the fighter's well-being outside of the gym.
That's the thing, man. It is, you can absolutely overtrain. You know, and my coaches coming up as a kid and as a young man, and like, they're very hard. You know, they're very hard. And when I started coaching, and you know, I was a general. I just, you know, because I
remember.
I didn't know any better. You know, I'm just trying to figure these things out. But you know, you can absolutely overtrain. You know, and you know, I'm not a big guy on like I need a mental health day. But that being said, man, you know, sometimes, you know, we all go through stuff. And, you know, it might be more beneficial for you to rest your mind and your body that day. And then the next day we get back at it. Because, you know, if you're not mentally and physically ready to do what we have to do, that's where injuries, you know, happen. I mean, they happen no matter what. But, you know, we just have to be careful. We have to be smart.
Absolutely. So when it comes to weight management for the UFC guys, they have, you know, obviously they've got nutritionists that they rely on for the UFC and they go to the PI and all that stuff. But for the local guys, what if an amateur is having difficulties making weight or cutting weight? Like I've talked to some guys at the gym who cut from 180 to 135, which is a huge cut. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, they don't have the luxuries of the UFC nutritionist checking on them. What do you do as a coach to make sure that they're staying on it?
So I am no nutritionist by any means, but I do give them a basic template on when to cut out, you know, when to start dropping calories, when to cut out sodium, when to cut out carbs, when you start your water load and how much. a very basic, like just conceptual. But my job as a head coach is to put the right people in your lives because, I'm head coach, but man, I'm incomplete. I'm really good at certain things. I know all areas, of MMA, but, I need a legit black belt helping out. I need a legit wrestler helping out. I know some wrestling and some jiu-jitsu
Right.
and all that. My partner Bobby's one of the best boxing minds in the world, and I mean, my whole life. But I look to people like them to really help me, solidify our team. And it's no different for nutrition. So I would prefer that they get with somebody like a Gabe if they can, to help them in a professional way. But if they can't, then we just kind of give them that basic
Right.
basic
Yeah.
template.
Yeah.
Hey, man,
Yeah.
go get that weight off, buddy.
You got to do it some way.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's super dangerous, man. So you do want to make sure safety's first. Always safety's first, man.
Right.
But and I've had a few amateurs bust weight lately, and man, I am not happy.
Right.
It's all part of the game. But even as an amateur, you want them to be professional for your gym, for themselves, for the promoter, for the opponent. You want to make sure that they're doing the right things, but it obviously happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was we're segueing into this perfectly, actually. Fighter safety is a big thing for you. So how do you know if a guy's cutting too much, like water weight, all that stuff?
I mean, you can. You're going to see different phases throughout fight camp in their cut. I'm looking for like certain physical cues, obviously.
Right.
If they're getting, the dark rings like way too early, if they're completely fatigued, where they cannot, and they cannot train properly, and it's not coming from the training. It's these external factors. That's when we have to have that talk. Because like I said, safety first always, and I just want to make sure that they're all good.
Awesome. I love to hear that. Okay. Let's say you're training somebody for a fight, what are you focusing on? Are you trying to take away your opponent's strengths, or are you trying to dissect their weaknesses, or how do you formulate a game plan?
Man, it's kind of the same, but relative, for everybody,
Right.
It's a bit different. So as far as a game plan, I look at the opponent's strengths and weaknesses. I look at our strengths and weaknesses, and you just kind of go from there. Somebody like a Derrick, obviously, if he's fighting like Curtis Blades, we had 4 months. We worked that uppercut for 4 months.
Yeah.
Because the first time they were going to fight, it didn't happen because of COVID. But, obviously, there's certain concepts that I talk about when you're fighting a wrestler. So his camp really focused around those concepts and what we do when we're fighting a pressure fighter or a wrestler. But, when it's somebody really specialized like that, then you focus on their super like powerful strength. But if they're pretty well rounded, just like I want all of our guys to be, then you implement. Well, let's try to hit this technique because I see that he does this or she does this or whatever, and it's just different for everybody, but kind of the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I have noticed that Main Street's a big leg kick school, as well. Have you seen the successes of, obviously everyone's seen the successes of leg kicks and MMA and stuff like that, but what made you sort of formulate or figure out this is what is going to be effective and cause the most damage?
Well, man, I've trained in the Dutch style. My style of Muay Thai is Muay Mat, which is kind of like just a lot of boxing to kicks, and I just find that it is successful, not just for our gym, but for a lot of gyms.
Yeah.
Leg kicks hurt.
They don't feel good. Yeah.
Then, of course, you want to look at the intricacies of the leg kick and how to set them up properly and so forth. But no, I absolutely love hands to kicks, hands to shots. For me personally, and I'm a bit biased because of my background, but I believe as far as striking for MMA, I believe that boxing is king, because it's going to set up your Muay Thai. It's going to set up your wrestling. It's going to set up all these things. And so for me, that is very important.
That's awesome. I lost my train of thought. Oh, wait, no, I got it back. You've talked pretty exclusively on your hatred for the calf kick.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to just pick your brain on that.
Sure.
The calf kick now is just such a big thing in MMA. Everyone seems to love it. You seem to hate it, which I understand why.
So yeah,
but
I wouldn't say I hate it. it has its place, okay? So what you have to look at, and you're going to hear Joe Rogan and DC, who doesn't throw a calf kick.
Yeah.
Joe definitely could, but like, they hurt really bad.
Yes.
So they're highly effective, but we do not throw them in Muay Thai, because we check everything in Muay Thai. And I'm a fat old coach, man, but if we're moving around lightly, you even if you feint or what, my leg just comes up. So when you throw the calf kick, it's high reward, but high risk. Because if I check your kick with the part of your shin that you're kicking with, you're going to snap your stuff, dude. The kicker is the one in danger, but they're highly effective. I prefer right above the knee and the hamstring, you have this like sweet spot right there. So high reward, lower risk. Now, if you can angle out, absolutely blast the calf for sure. I just don't like it done directly in front of them. You can absolutely blast it that way. If the fighter has the toes on the lead foot kind of inverted in like a boxer, by all means, beat that up. I have several fighters that love the calf kick, and I let them throw it, but I definitely like them throwing it from a safer,
right.
A safer way, because if we're standing in front of each other and we're just kicking each other's calves and one of us checks, the other leg is going to get, and you've seen it. You've seen it happen over. And I said it from the beginning. Well, DC said it, so it must be good. But dude, I mean, I'm telling you, look at like Liam, who's one FC champion. I mean, listen to him talk about the calf kick. It's pretty much
the same.
What I say. It is absolutely effective, but I dislike it so much because of the danger it presents to the kicker. It could be one of those breaks where you'll never fight again or walk, properly again. And it's not even just the check, it's that level change as well. They hit the wrong spot, it's going to snap, man. You know? So highly effective, but very high risk.
Switching gears here. I like that answer. I'm not a big calf kicker either myself.
Oh, you can't kick.
I can't kick. Yeah, I can't kick for shit. I can't fight for shit either.
He's a good kicker.
So yeah, you've seen guys throw it in the UFC and all that, but I've just never. I don't know. Because I've heard you talk about it before, and I've always thought that same mentality, like just check the kick, and it's you hurt the guy worse than you're going to get hurt.
Sure.
How do you run? You said you were the general. Quick story. When I first met Coach Bob here, I was about 19 or 20 years old, and I come into the gym, and he's like, every fighter in the cage, and I'm looking at him like, do you want me in there? He's like, you fight, right? I was like, yeah. He was like, well, get in the fucking cage then. So I was like, okay. I stepped in the cage. He's like, you're going to spar everybody. And I was like, oh, fuck. I just got my ass whipped for fucking 20 minutes.
Yes.
And then he was like, all right, Rock, spin him around. We're going to fucking beat the shit out of messes the equilibrium.
For sure.
And I was like, oh, shit. And I came back the next day because I was like, this is what I got to do to do better. You're not like that so much anymore.
No, man.
So, so how do you run your camps now?
Man, so I will every now and then, have to yell a bit or get on the guys. And they know at that point, like, dude, we must be really messing up. Because, dude, for me, and it's me being, 50 now. It's me being a father and a grandfather, and understanding that different fighters respond differently, So it can't always, in my opinion, at least in our gym, it can't always be the same. I know me personally, if you're my coach and I'm fighting and you're just like, I'm going to, my brain's just going to go. I'm going to be respectful and everything, but I don't react well to that or positively to that. So I still have just a couple of fighters and a few over the years where they're like, dude, in that corner, you let me have it. And I do. Whatever I need to do to help them to be safe and get that win. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
But it's just growth, man. I look at stuff that I taught 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, whatever, and it wasn't wrong, but I'm like, not that I'm embarrassed about it by any way, but I'm proud of continuing to grow and learn and evolve. And I think we all need to strive for that in whatever we choose to do as our profession.
The game has changed so much in that short span of time. When I first started training, leg locks were just forbidden everywhere.
Right.
And now everywhere you go, someone's chunking up some leg lock or whatever. So you said, depending on the fighter, you go in the corner, you either bitch them out or whatever, if that's what they want. Mm-hmm. What kind of advice are you giving in between rounds? Are you focusing more on the positives? Are you trying to change the game plan? Let's say you went in there and your game plan it didn't work, it fell apart. Mm-hmm. What kind of advice are you giving in the corner?
First of all, we have to differentiate a coach and cornerman. Two totally different. I mean, I'm a coach and I'm still a coach, but I'm also, I have a new job at this point.
Gotcha.
So with the coaching is going to come the teaching and all of this stuff. So you kind of have to have these two hats on, okay? I'm a believer in a lot of positive reinforcement in the fight. If somebody is not responding to my instruction, I stop. So, if I'm telling you something 2 or 3 times, I stop if you're not responding because the judges are hearing and there's some psychology involved.
Right.
And I also, I try, but when you do a great job, I'm very clear about that, and I'm very vocal about that, but I'm pretty chill on the stool and in between rounds. I believe, personally, that if I'm giving out, and new coaches tend to do this, where they're just yelling and screaming, and it's like, blah, 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 blah. Dude, it's too much.
Yeah.
And if I'm giving out this crazy energy, you're going to feed off of that energy. But if I'm kind of calm and like, man, great job, Drew, let's keep at that, whatever I'm saying, you're going to respond, in my experience, pretty well. And then in between rounds, I give bullet points. Maybe we're dropping the hand or, whatever we're doing good, I make that very clear, but, I make those corrections. They have to be quick. They have to be concise. They have to be bullet points. It can't be
a novel.
It can't, man. You're not going to remember any of it. So if I give you 3 bullet points, you're probably going to remember one of them, which I'm happy with, but it's very hard to make those adjustments, man. So if you look back at like, Derrick's last knockout, man, he actually responded really well to what I told him going into that round. He did what we talked about. But at the end of it, I kind of spiked my voice a little bit, and when he knocked out Volkov, man, I was letting him, letting him have it. It was technical instruction, but then I just had to understand my fighter, understand my friend, understand what is going to make him pull the trigger. Because, man, we have to at that point. So you have to have a bond with your fighters. You have to have a strong connection with your fighters. Once again, my opinion, to really understand, what coach is wanting.
Yeah, for sure. How frustrating is it to see a fighter, like, let's say you tell them, you give them your bullet points and they don't follow through with any of them. Mm-hmm. As a cornerman now, because you got that other hat on, how frustrating is it? And what do you do the next round? Like, let's say you're round 2 and something happens and he's not doing what you wanted in between rounds 1 and 2.
It happens more often than you would think. Going, say they didn't listen at all in the first, going into the second, and I'll be like, hey, look at me. I'll literally, like, there's a little psychology. I make them make eye contact with me. And it could be something like, every time you move to your right, he's dropping his left hand. Repeat what I said. I make them actually repeat what, and it does, it doesn't have to be this thing, it was like drops a hand, hit him with the right,
right.
So, but I make sure that they're engaged with me, that they're not, looking for their girlfriend or,
right.
Because it's wild, man. So I try to bring them into the conversation a little bit, to make sure that their attention is where it needs to be. Man, it's scary being in there, man. You guys are exhausted. This guy's trying to beat you up, and you, once again, and this is just like me being an older coach, you have to remember these things. Some fighters will never listen. Will never listen, and that's just kind of like, just go fight, man. Go fight. Do the best you can, man.
That's funny.
I remember, like, Derrick and I remember Pineda back in the days. Like, they're like, dude, I got 1 round in me. I'm like, well, you better finish. You better fucking finish. Yeah. So, man, I mean, great memories. But like, and looking back, like, holy shit, I can't believe, like, he said he had just like 1 round. It's a 5-round fight. But they did. For the most part, they did. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. I love stories like that here. And the Houston MMA community has grown so much in the last, 10 years. And it's been the same people that you see popping up at these events at all times. I remember when Eric Garcia had it was Cage Combat. I remember Lone Star Beatdowns were a big thing.
I was at the first Lone Star Beatdown at Eric's first show. We were just talking about the other day, man. It's amazing. Not just the fighters, but, like, the way that these promoters or matchmakers have also grown and developed and evolved. It's really awesome. I had done a podcast a few years back with Barry Lamanick.
Yeah. You're good. No worries.
And he's like, man, Bob, you're having a lot of success as a coach. What makes you different? And I'm like, and I mean this, absolutely nothing other than I didn't quit.
Yeah.
Because this game is really hard, whether you're a promoter or a fighter or a coach. And there's very few of us that are able to make it to that next level and make a lot of, make money.
Yeah.
And so it's disheartening. You love it. You put your, blood, sweat, and tears in it, and it's just not coming to fruition. But I'm telling you, like any of you young people out there, I'm telling you, you can do it. You just cannot quit. You can't. It's going to be hard. It's just, wins, and then, dude, we can't win. It's all of these things. You just can't quit. If this is really what you want to do, you can't quit. And I think that's why Mick and Eric and, some of these fighters and coaches are having success because, man, they weathered the storm and they continue to push forward. They have the heart, the mentality of a fighter. I'm not going to quit, because I love this and this is what I want to do. So I think that's very important to remember as far as the growth. The people that you see with the longevity, man, they go through all the bad shit.
Yeah.
They just don't stop.
So you've gotten guys to the UFC now. At what point do you think they're ready? Or at what point do you think, as a coach, how do you differentiate between someone who's like getting ready to go in and someone who's had their heyday and they need to kind of let it go, but they can't because of that mindset? How would you tell a guy?
Well, to tell that it's really, and I've had to do it a few times. It is, it's heartbreaking. You're my fighter. I love you, but it's because I love you that I, like a parent, hey man, it's enough. Health first of all. Some kind of have I don't want to say delusion, but that, hey, I'm going to still make it. And it's just not going to happen. So the best thing to do is just to be like honest with them, as kind as you can possibly be. Because like I said, it's devastating, but it's for their overall well-being. So to answer your question, you just have to have that man-to-man.
That is a tough conversation just because it's like you're almost like shattering their dreams at
100%,
that point. Yeah,
100%. And at the end of the day, hell, I wanted to fight. I'm not a fighter. I mean, we all have our place in life, and I think my job, I was put on earth to help people, to teach, to coach. Some people like Derrick are made to knock people out. He's got a limited window to do that.
Right.
So you take advantage of these things, while you can. But some people just flat out aren't made for it. I can't be a hair model. So,
exactly.
It is what it is. I can't cry about it. It is what it is.
What would you say is the most difficult part of coaching?
So, man, honestly, well, a couple of things. One is understanding the different hats that you have to wear as a coach, because I'm not just your coach. In different fighters, sometimes I have to, and I try to be like a dad to everybody because I genuinely love you like my children, but sometimes you have to be a dad. You have to be a marriage counselor or a grievance counselor. You got to be a shrink sometimes. There's so many different roles and hats that you have to play if you genuinely care about them, because you want to make sure that they have the resources, the things they need when they're going through stuff. So I think that is very hard. Understanding how to take care of them, in the proper ways. And it's not just always coach technique. There's so many different facets because, we're humans. As long as I've been coaching, I'd say the second part that's very hard for me is, and I think it goes with my first point, is that I do love you guys so much. We lose a big fight. Anytime we lose, it sucks. But, when you lose that title fight, the UFC title fight, stuff like that, man, it's dude, I've shed many tears, and it doesn't even have to be like a UFC title fight. It's just, you put so much into it. I put so much into it. Your team did, all the coaches, and then you fall short. Man, that's hard to deal with, and I can't sleep after a big loss, especially a UFC loss, because it's in front of the world.
Yeah.
And I don't really try to think about that, but man, the internet is pretty.
They can be pretty ruthless.
Yeah. It's pretty rough. But and I get it. That's the way of the world now. But I'll tell Derrick or stay off. Don't get on social media. Don't look at comments. And I've lost a lot of sleep. Especially the night of the fight. It's usually Saturday, can't sleep. Sunday, And then once I get back to the gym on Monday and I'm around my friends and people I love and, you know, around my wife and kid, you know, everybody, okay, I feel a little better.
Yeah.
You know? But I'd say those two things, you know, wearing the different hats and truly putting your heart behind that, and then also putting so much of my heart into, you know, losing. It sucks.
Yeah. No, that is a very shitty part of this career that you have.
Absolutely. And man, I've got, you know, we've so many titles and different, you know, sport, you know, Muay Thai, boxing, bare knuckle, kickboxing, MMA. But UFC gold is one thing that, like,
It's very
God,
elusive.
I
Yeah.
can't quit until I'm done.
Yeah.
Until we get it. And I kind of like, and I doubt that your younger listeners will get this, but, you know, somebody had asked me one time, like, dude, that must suck. I'm like, yeah, it does. They're like, what does it feel like? And I'm like, dude, Charlie Brown kicking the football.
Yeah.
It's
You're right there.
buddy.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you miss.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I don't want to say it's taken away, you know, because we're all responsible for it, but, you know, you're running, I'm going to boot this thing, and just, so it kind of feels the same. I mean, it sucks. It hurts, for sure.
So wearing all these hats, I've always said that all these athletes, especially combat sports athletes, can be head cases, and because they think so much about what am I doing right in the gym? What am I doing wrong? How can I fix this? How can I fix that? What's one thing that you would, like, if a fighter comes to you with all this stuff, how do you manage the...
It's pretty much daily. And I'm like, stop. Stop.
Yeah.
Dude, you can absolutely overthink. Just like we do in our lives. I mean, it is life.
Yeah.
Fighting, and they're the same. You know, something that's this big, it blows up. Now, there are obviously certain things like, man, you got to really fix that right hand, or, you know, we're doing this, and this, obviously technical things, but it's so much of it is in their heads. And at the end of the day, all of these questions, or what if this is, like, put in the time, keep working on these small little things, and I promise you, it's gonna happen, you know? And some get it like that. Some it takes a while, but it always happens as long as they keep on plugging away at that. But, you know, young fighters, you know, fighters in general, stop overthinking, man. Just get in there and do what you're supposed to do.
You made a reel not too long ago, speaking of younger fighters. The lingo has changed a little bit. Has that been hard for you to sort of change your style to fit the younger generation?
No, not at all, man. I mean, it's pretty black and white. You know, it's pretty sterile, pretty clinical when you're calling for certain things. You know, I'm not going to say put a little more Riz on it, bro. Whatever.
That was great.
Dog water,
yeah.
No, I'm not going to do
it. This great for sure. Yeah.
You know, but no, man. And what I do find, though, with some of the younger fighters is that, dude, outside of the gym, I'm just old Bob. I'm Bob. You can call me anything you want. In the gym, I'm coach.
Right.
But when they're like, hey, Bob, because as much of a family as we are, you have to teach these, especially the young ones, like, you know, once they get older, they pass that on to the younger fighters. There has to be some respect and hierarchy, as informal as MMA is. You know, you have to make sure that you're showing respect to everybody.
Absolutely. Coach is it's almost like you're calling like your football coach by his first name. You would never do that.
Dude, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Or any of, like, my boxing coach, Muay Thai.
Right.
I can't imagine ever doing that, you know. Like calling, you know, my dad by his
right.
first
Yeah,
name. He just
exactly.
beat the shit out of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, man, I think that's for the younger fighters. It's not necessarily verbiage or terminology. It's, you know, not that they lack respect, but everything now is just so different with the younger generation. Always here and that sort of interaction. They don't have a lot of this. And a lot of them don't have, you know, a lot of great communication skills because they're so used to just, you know,
right.
You know, so, and that's really important. You as my fighter, we have to absolutely have a very transparent, very clear relationship. I tell you what I need, you tell me what you need, and if we're having issues, you've got to talk to me. You have to talk to me about it.
It's almost like a work marriage.
100%. 100%.
I mean, I feel like that's how you have to be, though, because you get some coaches who are very hard-nosed and, like, they seem like they don't give a shit, but they do. But then people perceive it as they don't care, and it just kind of diminishes people's morale.
No, for sure.
I imagine. What kind of advice would you give to coaches wanting to be in your position? It took you several years to get in this position, with active fighters in the UFC, the titles, all that. What kind of advice would you give to someone who wants to do that?
A couple of things. Number one, keep learning. I legit learn something every single day. Like I said, Bobby, my partner, is one of the best boxing minds in the world, so I'll pick his brain, or Coach Aaron, working cuts, certain things on boxing. We've got great wrestling and jiu-jitsu there. I pick everybody's brain, even though I'm their coach, except for my partner, obviously. You want to make sure that you're picking things up. And, dude, so keep learning. I mean, you could be a white belt, come in day one, and I could see you do something, and it could be an epiphany of how to correct something, whatever. So that, keep learning, keep growing, keep evolving, or you'll go extinct for sure. And don't quit. Those two things, keep learning, don't quit.
That's awesome. I think we're pretty much at the stopping point here.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
This is what I typically, yeah, I'm not Joe Rogan. I'm not going to sit here for 3 fucking hours. But so what I like to do at the end is, if you have any shout outs, call outs, you want to thank your sponsors or whatever, you can plug whatever you want. I'm just going to give you the mic. You can say whatever you want to say. The mic is yours.
Man, honestly, I'd like to say thank you to, honestly, all the people that have shown me love and support over the years. And my gym, or our gym, Main Street Boxing and Muay Thai, I mean, I go in there happy every day, so I got to give them a shout out. If you're in the downtown area close, definitely come check us out. And Death Grip Mustache Wax, baby. Yeah. So yeah, man. That's it, man. I'm I want to just make it clear how grateful I am to be doing this. It means the world to me, for sure.
It is hard to do what you do, and it is very difficult to get to where you are right now in your career. I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. I've known you for, like I said, over a decade now, sure. And you've been the exact same person from the highs to the lows, and now at the pinnacle of MMA Coach of the Year. You're welcome. You've been nothing but a genuine person, someone who anybody in the MMA community could aspire to be more like, and it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you.
That means a lot to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. This has been the Matt Mindset. I'm Drew Elder, and I hope everyone has a great day.
This what the city been wanting. I know y'all patiently waiting. I do this shit in my sleep, so I had to get back to basics. Got the city tuned in, cause they know I'm going for greatness. They know I'm holding the crown, and they know I'm coming to take it.